So,
Yeah.
Lana, I'm so pleased to have you on the Witch Wavelength, because not only is it wonderful to talk to other witches and magical people, but it's also amazing that you're in America, aren't you? You're in North Carolina, am I right? Yeah.
Northern
And here we
California.
are. Oh, Carolina. Where did I get that from? God knows. But I knew it was a C. I knew it was a C word. All right. So I was half there. But yeah, I just think this technology is just amazing. And I've been immersing myself in your energy today. I've had honestly, the whole day has been dedicated to you. I hope you're pleased about that. I'll get my prayer mat out in a minute. And another thing is that you're one of our first guests that are in the video podcast. We've decided to go video. So, yeah, so it's great. So, yeah, I think that, I love video, don't you? I'm sure that you do, because I've been watching a lot of your videos today. There's a lot of you on video out there, isn't there, Lana?
Well, there is now, yes. Increasing every day.
Okay. Oh, are you having to work hard at it? It hasn't happened over a natural cycle. You've just been cramming it all in, have you?
I have, and it's been really actually energetically very intense to be putting myself out in the world as much as I have been. And so I just started my new program, and the day after it started, I just crashed entirely. I had been building it and putting all this energy into it, and I was tired every night for the next 2 or 3 nights. By 7 p.m. I was like, you know.
Do you know what? I know exactly what you're talking about, because exactly the same thing happened to me. And I've just finished my 28-day live program with 20 odd students. And yeah, like, as you say, the building of it, the bringing together the people that that are going to be in your space for a certain amount of time, who you really want them to share it with you, and you really want them to be there, and you're so pleased that they are, but actually getting them there, I'm not saying that they came dragging and they came kicking and screaming or anything. I hope not. But what we do to actually encourage and invite people, not that I don't think we have to try hard to be something we're not, because I think you're exactly the same as I am. You're just you. But yeah, I do understand what you're saying about putting it's that yang energy, isn't it? It's that yang that we're putting out. And exactly the same thing happened to me. The next day after I'd done my first live workshop, I was just on the floor. I was shattered.
Yeah.
But very pleased to be doing what I was doing. So tell me, I wasn't going to get to this bit until last, but here we are talking about it. So what is your program about? Tell us.
So it is called Magic Keys to Freedom: Overcome Addiction and Substance Abuse. And now with that title, it's going to sound like it is just for people with addictions. But I believe it's for everybody. It's just there's a sort of a slant where I'm coming from my experience with a really challenging and painful lifelong relationship with alcohol. And so, and I found through my life, as I tried to quit alcohol over and over and over and over again, that there were certain things that, for me at least, maybe not for everyone, but for me, there were certain things that had to happen before I was actually able to be successful. And a big part of that was energy healing. And that's the energy healing work that I do, that I facilitate. And another big part of that was community and support groups. And another big part of that was self-care and self-love practices. And so I've taken these various tools and these various lessons that I've learned through my journey, and I've combined them into one beautiful program that I have been incubating for a couple of years now. And so it's really exciting that I'm finally, able to share it with the world. And yeah, and like I said, everyone is welcome. And when I say addictions, also, I don't just mean drugs and alcohol. I mean shopping, food, sex, gambling, whatever. Because the way that I see it is that the reason that we get stuck, there's actually several reasons why we get stuck in these self-harming.
Keep going.
And so, we get stuck in these self-harming patterns for a few reasons. And some of them are we get stuck in mental ruts. Some of them are we get stuck in energetic ruts. Some of them are because we are trying to cope with trauma, and so I just felt like, as I was, reflecting on my journey with alcohol, and like, yes, I had tried AA, and while I know it works for some people, so I'm absolutely not putting AA down. No. For me, I didn't find it empowering. It was lovely to go and sit in a room and, share difficult stories with other people who were having, similar challenges. But, yeah, I needed more.
Yeah.
And so, so a big part of that is clearing the energetic ruts. And honestly, I really believe that there are dark forces out there that are, using our energy in certain ways. And so that plays into the addiction patterns as well. And yeah, and the reason also why I feel like this program is beneficial for everyone, not just people who consider themselves addicts or alcoholics or, substance abusers or whatever, is because everybody has energetic patterns that we get stuck in. Everybody has trauma. Yeah. Everybody has like limiting beliefs and all the things.
Yeah, because ultimately it's shadow work, isn't it? It's our shadow. Would you agree?
It is. That is a big aspect to it. And the shadow work, and also just like the learning how to treat ourselves and take care of ourselves like we would a precious thing. We're not taught that, most of us at least, are not taught that as children, how to care for ourselves really deeply and to honor our journey on this planet,
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that's why the 12-step program for you didn't work? Because you said you wanted more. So what is more? Is it something deeper? Is this what you're talking about? The kind of healing that you're now offering to others is what you wanted for yourself in that time of like the dark night of the soul, dare I say it, because that's what it sounds like. I can only imagine that it was. I had a problem with alcohol too. And yeah, I'm glad it's behind me now. But it's and yours, I've been reading about yours on your website tonight. I mean, it sounds pretty horrific, Lana, at times. The whole, it sounds like a bloody nightmare, actually, what you went through. I mean, do you want to share that at all? You don't have to. We can move on swiftly if you like.
No, as much as I really love the light, standing in the light, shining the light, all the things having to do with the light, I am all about going into the darkness and uncovering what's in there. I think it's really important. So
okay,
yeah, I'll talk about it.
Where did it all start?
Well, I would say it started with my ancestors.
That's it. Blame them right from the start.
Yeah.
Funny, didn't I? Anyway, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. But it's interesting that you say that because, I mean, we're not just talking about this present incarnation, are we? As magical beings, we know that with this relationship, this journey of the soul, we know that it's a long one. It's not just one incarnation. It's a few more than that, isn't it? I haven't got no idea how many, But I know that that's the idea anyway, isn't it? That's the concept. So how far back do you think this went?
Well, I mean, in terms of like the inherited things or the past life, I mean, probably both, as far back as people have been, you know, using alcohol to cope with the drama of being a human.
Well, you say that, don't you? You say that now, but maybe then it wasn't so much what started it in the first place. Was it just that kind of intrigue and fascination with something that could alter the state of your consciousness? I think that's probably how it started, because I know that's how it started with myself. I thought, oh, I feel different. This is nice. I like this buzz, you know. But unfortunately, the thing is with alcohol, if you like it and you don't know when to stop, that altered state of consciousness just becomes, instead of enlivening you and giving you inspiration, it kind of goes the other way, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I very distinctly remember being like, 12 and 13 and stealing my mom's gin, which, disgusting. And just, having a jolly good time with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that quickly turned into problematic as well. I mean, it happened very quickly for me where I was so excessive that I was blacking out like super young. It was just normal for me to binge drink to the point where I was blacking out and finding myself, whatever, in like dangerous situations of, with drunk boys back then. And then, of course, I graduated to putting myself in dangerous situations with drunk men. And so, it was like and that's why I say a lifetime, because not only did it start there as a teenager with me, but my father had a very intense substance abuse problem, like across the board, all the substances, you name it, he did it. And he did it to excess. And he was really hardcore. And like, thankfully, my parents got divorced when I was in first grade. So I kind of got pulled out of that. For the most part. I mean, of course, we still visited him, but yeah. So that's why, and of course, before that, one of my grandfathers was an alcoholic, and so it's like that's why I say it was a lifelong, toxic relationship with alcohol, and yeah, and even after like one time, I drove my car off a cliff, blackout drunk, and I only quit drinking for 1 month. You know what I mean? Like, I woke up. I mean, it's not a cliff. It was a very steep hill, but I soared off of it and went down 50 or 60 feet into nettle bushes, and I somehow my car managed to get squeezed by 2 trees. So I think it slowed my descent. So I didn't just like, those are some wild angels that were like looking after me that night.
Sounds like Mother Nature was looking after you.
Yes.
The great mother herself holding you in her arms.
Yeah, she hugged me on my way down. I did have to get out, in this nettle bushes up to here on my car and crawl through the nettle. So I was covered in nettle. I mean, and then I lost my sandals. I was barefoot walking. I mean, it's just like I have story after story like that. And I really couldn't make it stick. I really couldn't. I tried. Yeah. And then I remember the first time I practice a lot of modalities. I'm kind of like a modality junkie, honestly.
But how did that start? This is what I want to get to. From when the healing that you had to do on yourself, like reaching out and finding and having all these modalities and therapies yourself. Is that how it began? When you actually, you were hit from because that's normally where it starts in us wounded healers, doesn't it? It starts in our own healing. Is that where you got the tools that you use now? Is the tools that you actually were used on yourself by other people?
Yeah. So how that all went down is, so I had already been, I've been into magic since I was a kid, since I was a teenager. I've been like in my room with my incense, doing my weird spells,
Yeah.
And so in my 20s, I think I was 27, 26, 27. I was kind of like learning about Reiki a little bit. I don't practice Reiki, to be clear, but at that time I was kind of like curious and learning about it a little bit. And I had already been doing like shamanic journeying on my own. And this guy came into, I worked at a farm stand on like a busy street in Portland. And this guy walks in and he, asked me about some stuff. And then he's like, "Are you into DNA activation and light body clearing?" And I was like, "Yes." Don't know what that is, but my body was getting, my spidey sense was like, yes,
Oh,
I
so
am.
it wasn't a chat up line then.
A chat up line?
Yeah. No, it wasn't a chat up line. Or was it? Is he now your husband? That's next thing you're going to say, isn't it?
No,
Oh,
it was not
okay.
him hitting on me. He was genuinely offering his services as a healer. And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Okay, I do the first session for free just to give people a sense of what it is." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And so we set up a session and he would do them at a distance. So he was in his own house, I was in my own house, and like, quantum things. So
Yeah.
energy is, everywhere. We can do things like that, as everybody know.
No, it doesn't know any distance, does it,
Yeah.
energy? Or time.
No. Or time. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so my session happened and after my session, I walked out and it was about 3:00 in the afternoon and I went to go crack my regular PBR. That's a beer for those who don't know. I went to go crack my afternoon beer and I took a sip of it and it was the first time that I could at least hear my body saying, "Nah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, what?" I'm like, my body's saying no to a beer and I can hear it. And I'm able to put the beer down and just think about this for a moment. And so that was the beginning of the avalanche for me. That I did not quit drinking at that point in time, but that was when everything got so much easier. I was able to not be a daily drinker. It was only years later after I kind of put the energy work down for a while and picked up drinking again that I quit for good because again, I got into those same patterns of blackout drinking and putting myself in harm. And it got to a situation where I was traveling and I was vulnerable because I was alone. And I got blackout drunk. My phone battery died and I was sexually assaulted. And I was in a city, I was lost and confused. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was the final straw for me. And I was like, okay, I am clearly not a person who can drink. I have to quit. And, yeah, so that's when my real journey of healing all the things, healing all the things, because that's what I found that and I found this in other people who I know, people who I've worked with, when we finally are able to quit whatever the thing is, all the stuff comes up. All the stuff that we have either been pushing down or covering up or denying or just trying to survive, all that stuff comes up. And it's we have to either heal it, we have to address it, we have to do something with it, or or I don't know, or we're just a mess forever.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I gave up drink for 8 years. This was about 10 years ago now. So I gave up drink for 8 years because I knew that, like you, it just wasn't doing me any good. I'm not going to go into all of it because that's my story and this is all about your story. But just to put, just to sort of link in with what you're saying. But I started drinking again, and for 8 years I didn't have a problem. No problem. I absolutely felt that it was the right thing. My life was great, in that respect. No more headaches, no more hangovers, no more blackouts, no more embarrassing situations, no more regrets, because that's the thing, isn't it? You start thinking, oh my God, what did I say, do? Whatever it is, what I can't remember. Anyway, that's another thing. But so I started drinking again, believe it or not, in lockdown. Oh, it's Christmas time. Yes, why not have a Baileys, Sheena? Oh, come on, have a Baileys with Ian. Yeah, let's have a Baileys at Christmas, or 2 or 3. And then I started again. But I have to say, Lana, that it has been nowhere near the level of drinking that I used to drink. So I can almost say, and I can say with quite a lot of confidence, that I had it under control. But that was sort of 2-3 years ago now. And about a month ago, I decided, that's it, I'm stopping again. Because I had a couple of drinks one night of red wine, and it made me feel it really affected my mood. I was like quite down, and I couldn't think of any other reason for it. And normally I was just having like a glass of wine a night, or a beer or a cider or whatever it was. I wasn't going overboard, but I had 2 this particular night, and I thought, no, I've just got to stop this, because I don't want to feel like this. And it was almost as if I couldn't quite trust myself not to have more than one. Do you know what I mean? And that's when you feel that danger, like you, I know it's a bit different to your danger with you falling, going off the cliff and everything, or being, abused like you were. I mean, that's really putting yourself in danger, isn't it? But it's danger is relative to all of us, isn't it? And it's when we recognize that actually you're going to be better off without that thing, whatever that thing is, then you know that you've turned a corner, and that's that decision made for you. You don't even have to think about it, do you, anymore, because you know that it's the right thing. And it sounds like that was exactly the same for you.
It was literally, it just had to happen. And even now, like, it's been 6.5 years and I'm just like not interested. I do, to be 100% honest, I'll have like a sip of my partner's wine, I'll like reach over and like just one little sip, and then I'm like, oh, that has alcohol in it. Because my body, besides the tinctures that I take for like medicinal purposes, my body is just like, it's so not used to alcohol at this point. So I have a memory of wine tasting different than it actually tastes. And every time I'm like, oh, let me taste that. I'm like, oh, that's very strong, isn't it?
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know if you ever used to smoke. Did you used to smoke, or do you smoke?
Oh, I love smoking. I don't smoke full time. So that's something that like I do at a party now. I will smoke cigarettes because I'm like, I'm going to party. I'm going to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, I know. It's that party animal spirit in us, isn't it? You can't quite keep it down, can you? I'm exactly the same. I won't tell you what I do. That's another story. But anyway, no, listen. I've got a question for you. Reading back a bit, when you had that DNA activation, because now we're all intrigued, aren't we? We're all intrigued. What is DNA activation? How does it work? And what does it feel like?
Oh boy, wow. How much time you got?
Oh, short and sweet, please. Short and sweet, because I've got so many more questions to
ask you. Well, so DNA activation, it kind of operates on the premise that we were created as these like, I mean, yes, obviously we're all divine beings, but we were created to be much more like energetically powerful than we are at this moment in time. And that certain things have happened to us and by us, I mean just humanity. has happened to us to degrade our DNA template. So, you know, basically our blueprints have been degraded over the course of human existence. And so this work, the DNA activation, it works to activate the DNA that's been that's dormant, that should be lit up. Like, we were designed to have access to 12 dimensions simultaneously. And that's not like we're all just like living in this bizarro world where everything's overlapping. It's not like that. It's more just like being able to like sort of plug in and plug into the, you know, 12th dimension or the 9th dimension or the 8th dimension, which I believe many people are now realizing that they can do, and they are doing, you know. And yes, they're doing it in their imaginations, but that's sort of how we access the dimensions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so DNA activation and light body clearing. So the light body clearing happens first, where we clean up the aura. So we make sure the chakras are all doing what they're supposed to do. We heal up heal and seal up the auric field. We remove any entities from the field that might be plugging in and making it weak or stealing energy from the person. And so that's the first step. And then we remove some other goobies, some other energetic junk that gets collected. And then we start activating the DNA so that, you know, we have greater access, and it's easier to access those 12 dimensions, which are corresponding with chakras. And so,
yeah,
and it feels really good.
Well, listen, let me tell you, right? In my immersion of the energy field of Lana today, right, I watched a couple of your DNA activation videos on your website, which I think, I'm so impressed with your website. It's brilliant. You know, go and look at Lana's website, everybody, because it's and enjoy it, and because it's so valuable. You put such a lot of valuable stuff on there. But I actually sat through a couple of those DNA activation videos, and I loved them. I was mesmerized by the pictures, by the images. They were. How do you make those? How do you create them on a computer? Obviously,
I do. I make them on Google Pictures, and I just, you know, spend sometimes hours like layering this, because some of them are really quite intricate. Some of them are really kind of simple, but some of them are, I just spend hours just like, psh, psh, psh. And then
the DNA ones, the strands. The strands ones, I thought, my God, where does that stop? Where does it start? Where does it end? No idea, but it looks good. and afterwards, I mean, look at me. I mean, you should have seen me 3 hours ago. You know, I was like on the floor. No, I'm joking. No, I'm pretty happy most of the time. But yeah, no, I feel great. You know, I'm not saying I feel totally different and transformed, but I love energy work, Lana. I really respond to it. You know what I mean? Because we're talking the same language, you and I. You're talking in slightly different on a slightly different level, because I do follow a guy online who very much is in that ascension kind of level of awareness, level of consciousness. And I really enjoy that. I've done a couple of workshops with him. You know, he tends to go off, he tends to talk about Atlantis and, you know, the celestial realms, these mighty beings that are guardians of the planet and the galactic, you know, the galactic council and all that kind of thing. And I just find it all really intriguing, and I really, you know, I love it really, because as you say, it's time spent in another dimension with the support of our imagination. Our imagination is that portal. But as you say, that's and as I say, you know, as I'm saying now, that's where magic begins. That's where we begin our energy work, is in the imagination. We have to make some contact with it. We have to connect with it. And before we came on today, and I was waiting for you to arrive, I picked a tarot card for thinking of you, right? And look at this tarot card. These are brand new tarot cards, by
I
the way. I've
know
got
that
to say,
deck.
you are honoured. You are honoured. All right, because this is the first time I'm using them. Look at this beautiful card, the High Priestess.
Can I tell you something really funny?
Yeah, go on.
That was my like phone background for months.
I must have known.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I thought, as I was waiting for you, I know you're having a few technical difficulties, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to sit here, feel really chilled out. Poor old Lana, she's probably getting a bit nervous, because I know I get nervous if I've only if things start going wrong and you think, oh no, I don't need tech to do this to me, that's when it starts. You start feeling, well, I start feeling panicky. Then I think, oh my god, I'm not gonna be able. Anyway, so I was sitting there thinking, no, I'm just gonna, she's fine, she'll get herself sorted, no worries, plenty of time. And I'm going to pick a card for her, and I picked this, and I thought that is just perfect, because, and then I knew then that we are definitely on the same level in this respect, because the High Priestess, her energy is all about accessing our own magic from within, and so many people think that you access it from without, and there is magic in the external, in our environment. Nature's all around us, we know that, and we love her. But the real magic and the ability to be able to transcend these levels of consciousness and move into an interdimensional space, we can only do that by contacting our own magical nature, can't we? Our own soul essence.
Yes.
So and that is you, because that very much comes across watching your videos. And I know you've said it's been hard work, but honestly, it will pay off, because they are totally authentic. They're extremely magical, very honest. You're giving a really good portrayal of yourself. You're just being you, and your knowledge is shining through, and your connection to the invisible realms, to the magical realms, to the magical world around you and within you is so obvious. It's so obvious that you have that connection, and that is what people gravitate towards. I think that's what they resonate with. Somebody who they feel is not because they've got to want what you have in order to attract a client, a student, whatever it is, that you've got to be who you are, haven't you? That's who we are. And I think that, well, I don't know, I think people are a lot more intelligent sometimes than we think. I don't mean that to sound condescending, but I think people are a lot more aware than they even think they are, because they will either like you on resonance, on a vibratic energetic level, or they won't, and they won't know why, but it just won't feel right. And that's where energy comes into play, isn't it? It's always at play. We're subject to energy the whole time.
Yes, totally, 100%. Yeah, and I feel like for me, like the resonating with the High Priestess energy is because I'm like, okay, I did the journey. I went on the fool's journey. I like did all the things and made all the mistakes. And like, now where I'm at, I've done that's one turn of the wheel. And so I'm at the end of that particular turn of the wheel. Hopefully there will be many, many more. And now I'm like, okay, I have all these gifts and tools. And like, how do I, share these with the other people out there that need them? And so that's like it's like a hunger for me. I'm like, I need to help the people. I need to give them my magics, How can we awaken their magics?
Yeah, but you had to have that spiritual awakening first, didn't you? And that was the dark night of the soul. That was the catalyst for it, wasn't it? Clearly, and as far as I'm understanding, anyway.
I mean, honestly, there have been a few dark nights.
Oh God, there's more? You mean there's more where that comes from?
Oh yes. There was a descent even into darker darkness that came after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in between the cliff and the final straw, there was a very deep plunge into darkness, which actually was super helpful because that got me into really working with dealing with the demonic energies and learning how to really wrangle them.
God, what do you mean by demonic energies? Elaborate,
Well, so
Lana. Elaborate.
I believe that we are smack dab in the middle of a war of the dark and the light. And while, yes, everything that is of the darkness is still of God and source and all that and has purpose and value, um, you know, we don't actually really want to be in the war of the dark and the light. We're like, okay, we've been doing this long enough. Like, it's time to move on. And so I do believe that there are angels and there are demons, and that they are like two sides of the same coin, basically. They were the same, kind of beings from the same place. I don't believe that they're from this realm. They came in from elsewhere, and that they got in a battle of like, the angels were like, we love humans, we want to like honor and support them and honor their free will. And the angels that broke off to become demons were like, we're gonna like do all these nasty things to the humans. And we're gonna like feed on their energy and make them do bad things, and we're gonna like gobble it all up. And so yeah, so my descent into the darkness, I saw that playing out and yes, I did end up marrying that man who came into the fruit stand. No, the man who taught me the DNA activation work.
Oh, I was right then.
You were right. It was not at the time. He wasn't hitting on me. He was not really capable of that. He was sort of like,
it happened. Oh, okay.
But it did happen. Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
And so I ended up going on this like incredible journey through darkness because he became completely demonically possessed. And yeah, it was gnarly. And I was sort of like, we ended up moving into a house in the forest, deep into forested realms. And so we were very separate from the rest of the world. And he went even further into this like very dark space. And so that was how I really even learned. I mean, I learned almost everything I know from that experience. And he ended up killing himself. Not while we were together. Yeah, no, it was literally horrific. The whole journey was. And then I eventually got free from him and his demons. He was a lovely human. So like, don't get me wrong, like he was a beautiful human being. They got their claws in, and they got so deep that they just warped his reality so intensely. And so
did he have mental, did that give him mental illness, do you think? Did that give him a mental illness, or did
it absolutely gave him a mental illness? And I believe that honestly, I believe that a lot of mental illness can be energetically explained, can be like demonically explained. There's just so much going on in this unseen realms that are, that are playing out as mental illness all the time.
Okay.
And while I do think that, there are things people can do that are not magical or energetic to release themselves from entities that are doing those kind of things to them.
That's part of your work as well, isn't it?
Because it is. Yeah. That's a huge part. In fact, I feel like, sort of evicting the demons with love. I'm doing it really lovingly. For a while, I was battling them, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's actually not the way. That's not the way to do it, because that's just like feeding the darkness. And so once I learned the more way of walking in the light, evicting them while still walking in the light, I do it now with much more love and compassion for them as, beings of God. They really are. They were created by whatever creator. So yeah, I believe that that's a really big piece of addiction struggles, actually, is, entities get their, I'm like, I mean, they can get them in it really anywhere, but they get their claws in there, and it, it just makes it really hard, to get out, to get unstuck, to get free from the patterns. It's really, it's real. I mean, I want to shake the babies, I'm like, we got to get those demons out of you.
Oh my God. That's a whole different service, isn't it? That's a whole different service you could offer. Baby shaking.
It is. I do offer it. Baby shake.
Oh, what, the demon slayer? I know you do. So listen. So that's that. They're two tools that you offer. So the demon slaying or entity removal, which is probably more correct, conventionally correct, and the DNA activation. So those are two. So what else do you do? What other forms of healing do you offer people?
So I offer kind of a wide range of things. So I do this thing called soul realignment, which
yes, I
is
saw
really
that.
very cool. It's super neat. I really like it because it's like one of those, it's almost like putting together a birth chart. There's like all these interesting things about a person, but it's from like more of like a soul aspect. So we kind of like, we pull up like their most recent incarnation elsewhere that's affecting how their personality now. So it's really kind of interesting. Like, for example, I have two recent like things where I was on Arcturus and I was also on Mintonka. So those actually are both kind of affecting who I am as a person. And then there's some like elements of like what are the sort of the tones of your soul, like almost like your soul song. What are some of the notes that make that up? And so that's pretty cool. So it's like this really neat, like it's like a little snapshot, a blueprint of where you're at as a soul. And then we pull up what kind of blockages are keeping the person from moving forward. And so that's the part that, while the other stuff is really interesting, the blueprint or the blockages part is really helpful. And so it actually gives you like an idea, and then you'll look at them, and I present them in like an audio kind of a Zoom meeting kind of a scenario. And so that the person gets to know what, my explanation, and it's recorded so that they can go back and listen to it again and like take notes and kind of figure out things. And then there's some exercises that go along with that. So that's a really cool one. And then I also so I really, really enjoyed this one. So I do home harmonizations, which can be for a person's home or land. And then with this one, I work with the devas, the fairies. I work with like some fancy ascended masters, and we all kind of have this little council to program the energies of a person's home or land or business. And I've done it for all kinds of things. Like I've done it just for to program like harmony and love and like these kind of things into a person's home. But I've also done it to help somebody sell their home or to help them buy their dream home and things like that. I can like put in really anything somebody wants that I feel is not harming anyone. Because I'm absolutely like a do no harm kind of a practitioner.
Oh no, I can tell that. Yeah. So when you how do you actually do it? So is it just really sitting in meditation with your spiritual counsel and saying, look, guys, this is what we need to happen. This is our intention. Let's all get our heads together or our energies together and sort it out. Is that all it takes? Or do you use any kind of props? Like, for example, do you burn sage? Do you walk around with a candle? Or do you do it remotely, don't you, in many cases?
I do it remotely in every case. Yeah.
Okay, so talk us through how that happens. What's the format?
Yeah, so I go into like a little bit of a imagination state, and then I walk through, I go into, in my mind, into an elevator, push the button, get in the elevator, then I push the 5th floor button. And so in the elevator, I go from the 3rd floor, 3rd dimension, boop, boop, up to the 5th dimension, and I exit the elevator. And then I'm like, okay, here I am. I'm in the Akashic Records. So in that place, I then say out loud, I connect to the spirit of Gaia. I connect to the appropriate members of the Great White Brotherhood, which I mean, really, those guys need to come up with a better name, because like, just sounds bad.
White Brotherhood.
The Great White Brotherhood. Yeah. It just sounds like racist and sexist.
Oh God, I'm sure I've got one of their books somewhere sitting on my shelves, The Great White Brotherhood.
Yeah, they're
I'm sure
fancy.
Haven't they come through in lots of spiritual circles? A lot of people bring them through in trance, and yeah, I'm sure that's happened in the circles that we've sat in at some point. That's where I've heard it from. Yeah, it's quite they've been around for a while, haven't they? I mean, I know these people and these energies have been around for like aeons, but I mean, in how we know them to be, they've been around since like the beginning of the century, or maybe before that. I don't know.
Yeah, beginning of the century, or around there, I think, is when people started becoming aware of them. Yeah, at least in like modern times. I'm sure they had other names in the past and other, So I call them in, then I call in the particular devas, and devas are nature spirits. And then so I call in the specific devas for the job. And that'll be based on like what we're going to do. So we'll call in the deva of the property that we're going to be working on. And then I call in my higher self. So my higher self's there, and we're all just hanging out. And I have a very specific
agenda.
Yeah, I close portals. So any portals, we close them, because we don't want them open. They are energy stealers, and especially the big and dark ones too. We're like getting angels to guard those ones, and so
you have to contain it, don't you? You have to contain the energy. You have to contain the energy that you're working with.
Yeah, well, so we close those, and then we fill it with creator substance, and then if it's a really big portal, we'll send some angels to guard it forever, so it doesn't open back up. And then and so then I just go through I write up like a very specific thing of like what kind of goals we're going for. And like, I've seen amazing things happen. Like, I love getting that text back from a client, or that email when the client's like, oh my God, Lana, we did it. Like, I sold the house, or, oh my God, like this, it's just like, it's so lovely, and it helps. And the fairies, the nature spirits, they really, really want to work with us. We're at a point now where they're like kind of, except for maybe like the unseelie court who don't like us, but the seelie fairies, they really want to heal the rift between humanity and the fairy realm. They're like, let's do it. So they get really excited to work with us.
Do you know, I just had a thought. I've got a really good friend who, her and her sisters, there's 4 of them, have been trying to sell their parents' house. It's their family house. It's been in the family for like, 60, 70 years, maybe more. I don't know, probably not more than that. But both their parents are dead now. So they're left with this huge 500-year-old house, which is also a village store. And one of the sisters is running it at the moment, but they desperately have been wanting to sell it for a couple of years now. And Ian and I went over there last year and sort of just sat there with my friend, and we lit a candle, we talked about things, but we didn't really sense any kind of darkness, or we felt that possibly it was something that was within the sisters that was preventing, this kind of connection with the family home, with their childhood, not wanting to let go, that kind of thing. But maybe I'll put her in touch with you. Maybe you could do something to help, because yeah, we kind of felt a little bit didn't really help that much, because didn't feel, I mean, I still don't think they've sold it, but as you say, you can work on a different level. But yeah, I mean, is it something that when somebody contacts you, say for example, say my friend was going to contact you and said, oh, it's not, do you have a test first? Do you do a little bit of a test run and go into that? Because if you felt that there was nothing there that was preventing them from selling, when do you, what I'm trying to say, I suppose, really, is where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line between something that's influencing the people that are having the problem in the spirit realms, something that's influencing the people that are having the problem on the earth plane? Is it something that they're causing, or is it something that is externally happening outside of their influence?
So the way that I see that is that no matter what is causing it, the fairies they'll just do that. They'll do, in the way that they do, which is in an energetic way. And they're not going to harm anybody in the sorting. They're just going to come in and it's kind of mind blowing. It's just like, I've just seen them, well, not physically seen them, but seen the results of their magic.
Yeah.
Like I can only take responsibility for the setting it up. Yes,
holding the space.
Yeah, but they're the ones that do all the magic, and
that's
are
amazing.
phenomenal at it.
That is amazing, Lana, to hear you say that, because you've completely sort of distance yourself from the fact that it's anything to do with you. All you're doing is holding the space. All you've done is provided that container. You're facilitating the place and the time to do it in. They're all doing the rest. But isn't that brilliant? Because then you don't have to overthink things. You don't have to start getting involved and analyzing and trying to work it out yourself, which is what Ian and I were trying to do with my friend last year. To a certain extent, we were thinking, but I think maybe this is something that's earthly and not spiritual,
Yeah.
But we could have saved ourselves a great deal of time by just saying, okay, come on, let's just get in, sort it, contact those in the higher realms, those in the spiritual realms, the magical realms. And thank you very much. Get on with it. Hold the space. Because I could have done that easy. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of work that I do on my own. But if I could have done that. So tell me, my next question is, right, do you train other people to do this?
Yeah, that is, well, so that's sort of where this program is the beginning of like a series of programs. And so
I can see it happening.
Yeah, so
this
was the thing that I was like, I need to get Magic Keys to Freedom program out in the world. I need to make that happen, because that's where my wounds were. And so that's what I really need to work on healing in the world first and foremost. But I mean, even as you've seen in the magic, or maybe you haven't seen it quite yet, but I do start teaching people in just the Magic Keys to Freedom program. I'm going to start teaching some techniques, like how I, talk to my higher self, and how I get that information, and how they can do it as well. Because I feel like part of the healing process is really claiming one's power and becoming energetically sovereign, and so, so I'm going to be dropping some nuggets of training in just this program. And then the next program is going to be like the next level of trainings. And then there's going to be another one that's like the highest level.
Brilliant. And just to clarify to our listeners, I am actually in your program as what would you say I am? I'm on the sort of free tier, aren't I? Because everybody gets access to all the content, don't they, for free? Is that right?
Well, that's a limited time offer. I'm actually going to be closing the doors on the free tier pretty soon here. And then I'm going to it's going to still be pretty cheap to get in. And then, yeah, the first tier will be relatively inexpensive, and you only pay for the 3 months of the because it's a 3-month long program, but then you have lifetime access to all the goodies. And so, yeah, the first tier is going to be super cheap, but that has no one-on-one sessions with me. The second tier has one-on-one session with me per month, and it does roll over indefinitely until, so you can use it during the program or later. And then the third tier is going to have 2 sessions with me per month. And those are like super, super reduced rates of working with me one-on-one. And so they're like a really special offered for the people in the program, so I can provide that extra support for.
Wow.
So let me just explain to people what a one-on-one session with me is like. So I've kind of talked about 2 of like the specialty things that I do. But like in a one-on-one session with me, so I also am certified in it's called integrative change work, but what it really is neurolinguistic programming. So I take this tool that's like a mental tool, and I combine it with my energy healing tools. And then I also pull in some hypnosis tools that were part of that integrative change work certification and training. It was really, it was very intense and very thorough. And I'm so grateful for it, because it felt like that was the last piece that I needed before I could start this program and before I could release it. So that was really wonderful. And so I take these various tools that I have, and also I do a little bit of like etheric surgery as well. So I take these various tools, and in a one-on-one session with me, someone will come to me and I'll be like, okay, what are we going to work on today? Like, what do you want to talk about? What's been going on with you? And they'll start to tell me things, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm sensing that like this could be happening. What do you think about that? And they're like, maybe, this or that. So I kind of make my suggestions and allow them to feel it and reflect back to me what. And then I will check in with their higher self. So, and ask their higher self questions. And so one of the big things with the work I do, that it goes along with the do no harm concept or way of operating. Ethos. Yeah, ethos, there you go. Is that all the energy healing work that I do is all through their higher self. And I always ask permission, and everything that I make the codes, like we talked about, those pictures with and they have instructions in them that my higher self and I encode. And then I give those to their higher self, and their higher self determines how much of it, or if any of it, they want to use at all. So it's again one of those things where I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit hands off. I'm giving them the instructions, but I'm not over there being like, I think that you need this, I'm like, whoa.
No, that's amazing.
And
that's amazing. Yeah, you're trusting in the higher consciousness that connects us.
Well, I'm trusting in the higher consciousness, and also their own guidance, because eventually they're going to be on their own. And so they do need to plug into their own guidance and learn how to read that and feel what feels correct for them, if they don't already know how to do that,
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I'm always really grateful when people come to me for work, because they're coming to me in a state of trust.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
to trust me with their precious life is like, that's precious. But to be clear, this is not my first program ever, but this is my first program of this type. And it is the first in like this series that I'm dreaming up. And so I changed the name of my business from Lana Borealis to Energy Magic Love. So I would call it, could even call it the Energy Magic Love System, the Energy Magic Love program, the Energy Magic Love something. But yeah, Energy Magic Love.
Cauldron.
Yeah. Or the School of Energy Magic Love. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your magical path? Obviously, our whole conversation has been magical, and clearly magic expresses itself in your life in so many different ways. What about the witch path? Do you follow any particular tradition, or are you just kind of totally eclectic, which is what I'm getting the feeling that you are, really? You know, you're just doing your own thing, aren't you, girl? You're just walking your path, doing your thing.
Well, so the way that I operate in just about everything that I do is I research. So I love researching. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. I research and then I
Right.
learn things, and then I sort of integrate, assimilate, and then completely throw the book out the window and just do whatever I want based on, what I've gathered,
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yes, I do kind of just walk my own path. And I feel like for me, I don't think that magic has to be like, I know there's some people are very structured with their magic and they've got rules and that for me is just not my style. I don't like rules. I'm not into rules. Let's just, no. Don't harm people. Don't be a jerk. Like, those are my
That's good
rules.
enough. That's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
so I just kind of wing it. It's like the videos that I record, or even when I'm doing healings or like doing in my priestess role. For the most part, I just wing it. That's how I operate in life. I'm like, let's just wing it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the shamans of old, the witches of old, the healers of old, from time immemorial, no, they didn't have a textbook. They never had a guidebook or anything. They were working with that connection
Yeah.
to the magical worlds, the other world. They were working with that spiritual connection. So and they were working intuitively. And if and that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's magic is
Yeah.
about working with our intuition to bring
Yeah.
about change, you
I
know?
think I think
Um,
scripts and guidelines are helpful for people when they're like getting started, or if they're like
yeah,
haven't done something before. And I like to use them too. Like, I have a very specific script when I call in the directions,
quarters,
you
yeah.
know?
Mm.
But other than that, like, you know,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
do it on the fly.
as it were. Now, one more question, because we have been rattling on for ages. Well, I say rattling on, but it's been great. It's gone so quickly. Notice how quickly I retract what I say then. Anyway, no, one more question that I'm desperate to ask you, because this has all been about your work, and I know it's your life, and sometimes those lines blur, don't they, between work and play, and our work and our vocation and our creativity and our healing. It's all because I feel the same. It's a magical life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but what do you actually do to switch off completely when you think, oh, I've just got to have some time out here. I just need to just switch off and, just relax, chill out. What do you do?
I love a good bath with salt, sea salt, and baking soda. And I like to talk to the water of my bath and like tell it what I would like. And also, like, I live in the forest. I am surrounded on all sides by trees and forests. So if I, especially if I get very low energy, a forest walk is always helpful. And, I really loved listening to your podcast on the witch walking. I can't wait to go do that with rocks. I'm going to do it with rocks.
Oh, really? Yeah,
And
the light,
so,
which walks lighten up.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that's a great one,
yes,
isn't it?
I really like
Yeah.
it. And so, yeah, I also, I love to just kick back and watch a movie that makes me feel magical. I love magical movies. I have a really hard time watching things that aren't magical at this point in my
I
life. I'm like,
know. I
unless
know.
it's
I feel the
really
same.
funny,
Yeah.
unless it's like super funny or magical, I can't do it.
Yeah. But having said that, Lana, I find a really good story magical. If it's a good story, then, but that's interesting. Well, there we go again. You see, I like doing that as well. I like getting out in nature. Nothing better than getting out and having a nice walk on the beach, or like you say, I'd love to be near a forest like you. I mean, oh my God, to have all those trees on your doorstep, amazing. You know, but I've got the ocean on my doorstep, which is as amazing. You know, and you just stand there and a high tide, and if you're feeling a bit down, you know, you just throw a bloody stone or a shell or a leaf, or just shout into the wind as the tide goes out, and just watch all those troubles, the tide take that out. You know, wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love getting out in nature. I like watching a good film, like I just said. And what else did you say? Bath in salt. I haven't done that. I think I've only done that once, and I don't normally talk to the water, so that's where we differ a little bit.
Well, so I like to program all my water. So that's like all my food, all my beverages. I just like to say, thank you, I love you, thank you, I love you, thank you, I love you, you know, because we know now, I mean, maybe everybody doesn't know this, but we know now that water has
Yeah.
consciousness, and it shapes itself based on what it hears or feels. And so I figure thank you, I love you is the best I can do.
Absolutely. That reminds me, I've got a set of cards, oracle cards, and they're the water oracle cards by, is it Masuri Emoto? You know, the China, is it Japanese doctor or
Yeah.
something, or Chinese? He's
Yep.
passed away now,
He's
bless him.
Japanese. Yeah.
But that work that he did with the crystallized, you know, images of water. In fact, I've got one sitting over there. I'm in what we call the healing room in our house, and I only do yoga in here or my readings, or just come in here just to, you know, I've got my altar, and it's just lovely. And I've always got a water oracle card to put my water on, you know, and you can just choose what you want. I think I've got confidence at the moment.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, well, it's been so, I want to ask you so much more, and you know, because I feel like we've just really, it's the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? We've only just scratched the surface. Oh my God, this is what always happens. But I feel that we've dove deep. We've had a great conversation. Well, I have anyway. I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed myself. And
I've had a lovely time.
yeah, oh my God, Lana. And I'm really looking forward to diving back into your program, and you know, just soaking it all up, because now that I liked enough of what I knew about you anyway to say, yes, I'm up for that, I'll do it, you know. But now that we've talked a bit more about it and you've explained, and I'm fascinated even more to get back in there and do as much as I can. So thank you for that opportunity. Does that opportunity still present itself to the public, or do people have to wait for the next program before they can enroll with you?
Yeah. So since this is the first time I've done this program, I am learning as I go, and I'm learning that people, especially people who do actually have you know, substance abuse or addiction issues, they need to be in right away. They can't wait around for 3 months for me to start the next cohort, you know. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the doors open all forever, indefinitely, until I shut it. And it's going to just drip. So people will join and they will immediately get access to week 1. And then a week later, they'll get access to week 2. And so there's just going to be this continuous flow in of people. And so that's another reason why I'm shifting from free to a small fee for entrance, because at some point there are going to be so many people that I'm going to have to hire help to
Yes.
manage
Yes.
it, you know.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but I think you're definitely doing it the right way to start with. Yeah, and let's face it. No, I mean, this is valuable work. This is important work. This is work that is going to change people's lives, and if they don't realise that, well, they will realise it. But I mean, you know, it's pretty obvious to me anyway. So I wish you all the best with it, Lana.
Thank
and keep doing your magic, keep doing your thing, because it's definitely worked. Well, it's worked for you anyway, and that's enough. That's all I need. I don't need any more proof than that. You know, you are a walking sort of result of your own magic, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are. Well done, you.
Thank
And so
you.
how can people find you, Lana, online?
So to access the program, to get entry into the program, you would go to energymagiclove.com. However, if you want to just access me, you'd find me at lanaborealis.com. So those are the two places, lanaborealis.com, just me and my personal world of magic facilitating, and then energymagiclove.com to access the program.
Lovely. Okay, and I'll put those links in the show description. And
wonderful.
Yeah, so we come to the end of our little piece of magic online between you and I on the Witch Wavelength, and I thank you so much for joining me. It's been such great fun and fascinating and intriguing and magical. What more can I say? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Sheena. This has just been really delightful and wonderful on many levels. And so I'm just really grateful to be here with you. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my darling. And it's been a pleasure. And we must do it again. We'll talk
Absolutely,
about that.
100%.
You take care of yourself. Get back out in those trees now. Go on out in that forest. Work your magic.
Will do.